This right here is the 45-liter travel backpack from Peak Design. It's got a lot of very well thought through features, super high quality materials used throughout the bag. Could it possibly live up to that hefty price tag? Let's find out. Hey guys, welcome to the very first Gear Grind Reviews review. The purpose of this channel is just to provide unbiased, honest, real-world information about high-end products like the Peak Design bag that I have here. I really appreciate your support, especially in these early days. This is a brand new channel. So if you like this content, you know the deal. You're not new to YouTube, I'm sure. So it'd be huge if you would just like the video, comment on it, subscribe for more content just like this, because there's a lot of stuff in the works. And you'll also see a couple affiliate links below that really helps enable us to make more videos just like this one. So when I was thinking about the first video that I would do, the first product, I could think of nothing better than this backpack right here. I bought this back in 2018 with my own money. This is an unbiased review. And since then, this backpack has been to probably 10, 12 countries all across the United States. It's my go-to for every trip that I take. Like, I use it for everything, pretty much everything. So you could definitely look at this as a long-term review. But I think I can certainly speak to what's amazing about this bag and what could maybe use some improvements. But spoiler alert, this thing's pretty good. I mean, I'm a big fan, but no bag is perfect. So first up is design and build quality. I think this bag looks amazing. Of course, this is a super subjective thing, but the clean lines, the kind of understated design of it throughout, that's what attracted me to the bag in the first place. The bag measures in its standard 35-liter configuration at 22 inches by 13 inches by 9.5 inches. And by unzipping these two side compression zippers, in its fully expanded configuration measures 22 by 13 by 11 inches. And the bag itself weighs about 4.5 pounds. So the shell itself uses 400D nylon. That rating basically refers to the thickness of the nylon threads that are used throughout. That 400D rating kind of represents that sweet spot between lightweight, but also durable. And worth noting, the bottom of it, they use 900D, so there's just some extra reinforcement where most of the weight is going to be sitting in the bottom here. This material is also weatherproof due to some DWR and double poly coating treatments that have been applied to the fabric throughout. But I've never had a single issue with moisture getting into any compartment, anywhere in the bag. And speaking of weatherproofing, one thing I really like, the zippers throughout have this material that closes in tightly behind the zipper. So when you zip it closed, the tolerance is so tight that you can't even see the teeth of the zipper behind it. Like, even if I were to take my fingers and just really try to pry it open while it's zipped, you can't really do it. It's pretty remarkable. So I think that speaks to the company's design meets functionality approach, which I've noticed in any Peak Design product I've ever had. So next up is comfort and ergonomics. We have to talk about the shoulder straps. I have seen some complaints on Peak Design's own site, like in the reviews, saying that they wished that there was more padding in the straps. And I suppose I can understand that. Like, it's definitely not overly padded. In my experience, it hasn't been a huge issue. And I've asked a lot of this backpack. I've gone through airports, I've used it all day with it holding like 40 to 50 pounds of camera gear, if I had to guess. It just hasn't been a real big issue for me. The straps are contoured in a way that I think form fits to your body pretty well, at least in my case. Would I like to see a little bit more padding on it? Yeah, I think so. It was probably a design decision. They're trying to keep it slim and minimal. I can see both sides of that argument, but again, for me, it in no way has been a deal breaker. Something else that's cool as far as the shoulder straps go with this bag is it has these sort of unique pivot points at the top of each strap. I feel like that does help it form to your body as you're moving. In addition, when you are storing the flaps away, that allows you to really make the strap invisible because it can pivot right in there, closes with a magnet, and you wouldn't even know it's there. It does also act as a way to store these hip straps, which honestly, sometimes I forget this has. It's not something I use a whole bunch, but here they are. Generally, for me, I keep those stored away. They use that same swivel mechanism that the top does, which is a cool feature. So as far as handling this bag, Peak Design calls them their 360-degree grab handles, and this is a super useful feature. Basically, any way that the bag is oriented, there's gonna be a handle for you to grab onto. So there's one from the top, as you might imagine. There's one on the bottom even. There's one on each side. And on the back side of the bag, so you could kind of use it in suitcase orientation if you so choose. So imagine going through a security checkpoint, you put this on the conveyor belt, it comes out. You don't have to like first orient it in a certain way before you can get it up and get on your way. It sounds like a small thing, but the fact that you're not having to think through rotating it first so that you can then grab it is huge. Like, no matter how it's positioned, even if it's head in, you're gonna have a handle on the back. And I can't tell you how many times I've used each and every one of these handles, and it's just great to have those options. So I've already mentioned at the top of this video that this bag can be used in 35 liter or 45 liter configurations, but there's actually a third mode, 30 liters. I think this is more of a cosmetic thing than anything else. It's got these buttons at the top. So basically it takes the bag from looking more like this to like that. It makes it look a bit slimmer, but it's not all that functional. It doesn't take much to unsnap those buttons. Like if you pack it just a little bit too full or pull on it somewhat lightly, it's gonna unsnap. So it's not meant to really be a compression mechanism. It's just something that keeps the profile down when you don't need the full capacity. So just keep that in mind. But it is nice when you're just going to like the coffee shop and you basically just have a laptop in it and a couple other things. Like, it'll stay in that configuration. It's only when you push the limits that you're gonna see that snap open into 35 liter mode. It's also worth noting that there's a series of loops on the exterior with a strap that comes stored in this front little compartment here, which is nicely secured by a tiny little magnet. And that's just great when you're trying to secure something that's just not gonna fit into the bag, like that extra pair of shoes or a tripod or a blanket, whatever the case might be. So moving on to either side of the bag, we've got these open, expandable side pockets where you could put even a pretty ridiculously sized water bottle in there. I often also use this for a small tripod, like Peak Design's own tripod. There is an elastic band there, but it's designed in such a way to where when it's not in use, it hugs the profile of the bag, which is cool. There's not just some gaping hole on each side when you're not using it. It just snaps into the bag, which is a really nice touch design-wise. And talking about the side pockets, you wouldn't even know this is here unless you look for it, but behind each of them, there's a small zipper compartment. You've got secured storage there in 2 additional places, which again, when you're traveling is great because you're not having to get into the main compartment of the bag to grab something quickly. Next up is organization and accessibility. So this bag utilizes a clamshell design, which means that for the main compartment, there's a zipper that goes up and around all the way across the bag, opens up to reveal the entirety of the main compartment storage. So you'll see whatever you've packed, whether it's clothing, equipment, you'll see it all at a glance. While we're at it, one disadvantage I would say that I've noticed with this design is, let's say you're in the airport and you know there's something that's in the main compartment, you need access to it. There's pretty much no way around it. You gotta just plop this bad boy on a surface, whether it's the floor or a counter or something. Boom, there's everything you packed right there. It takes up a lot of real estate here. There are also these side access panels on either side of it. That way, if you don't want to take the bag off completely, you can swing it around, unzip it, and have access to the main compartment, and you can do that from either side. Inside of the main compartment, you do have laptop storage, as I'm sure you'd expect. It's padded storage. This opens up using Velcro, and it reveals a pretty generously sized laptop compartment. I've used it with 16-inch MacBook Pros. You could probably even fit something bigger in there if you're a Windows type of guy or girl. And there's also a secondary compartment there that's more geared towards smaller tablets, smaller devices like that. And while I am a pretty big fan of using magnets where possible, I don't think it really makes sense here. With all that weight swinging back, you're gonna want something more substantial, and I've never had this Velcro pad fail in any way, even with the full weight of the laptop sliding against it. So. Also worth noting, most of the interior compartment is covered with this tear-resistant ripstop type of material. You see it on the back here, all the way throughout, even where you slide the laptop in. You see it in the main compartment on the sides, going all the way around. So that just adds confidence with whatever you might be putting in here. You're not overly worried about it snagging and tearing something. And if it does, it'll probably be minimal. I've never run into that though. Lastly, on the interior compartment, you can see a couple of extra storage options here. One's covered in ripstop, and on top of that is a mesh semi-see-through compartment. And interestingly, when you're accessing the secondary storage component, which we'll get into next, you can access the contents of both of these from that side, just like you can here from the main compartment. You're not having to think through too much like, okay, this is in that one compartment. I first have to open this compartment to get to that one, and that's the right zipper in this right area. Like, it's just not something you have to think through. So I think that was a really smart design decision. So I just mentioned that secondary compartment. Let's get into that real quick. It unzips in a similar way, kind of a clamshell design. There's a fair amount of storage in there too. It's gonna kind of depend on what's in the main compartment. If you got that filled up to the max, you're not gonna have a lot of extra room there, but you will have some. And as I just mentioned, those same 2 compartments there, the mesh one and that solid ripstop material there, It's the same compartment. You can get to it from either side. This is probably one of the most frequently used parts of the bag here. So without having to get into the contents of the entire bag, where all your clothes or whatever is, you can just zip this open quickly and it reveals this semi-see-through kind of mesh here. So you can see what's in it without having to open it. But when you do, you've got some storage there, general storage, but then you've got this soft, stretchy material here that has a couple of decent sized compartments, could fit a passport, a wallet, some nice chapstick, a travel essential. And it also has this ripstop on the back of it as well. And in this bottom panel here, I usually find myself throwing slightly larger items like a power bank in here. Okay, so lastly, just to finish up, we should talk about this little tiny quick zip compartment right here. I would say in some ways, this is the most used component of the entire bag. Why? Because it's just so simple to get to. And when you're traveling and you've got people behind you in the security line and you feel like you got to move quick, this is where I generally find myself just shoving everything in there that can't be on me as I'm going through security, and just throughout the day when there's like those more frequently used items that you travel with. This might be my main call out of the whole bag. There's not a whole lot of depth here. It is a pretty stretchy material, so you can cram a fair amount in, but by the time you put in your phone, your wallet, your passport, some AirPods, you've pretty much maxed it out. So that can be a little bit frustrating. I do wish they could have added a bit of volume here, a bit more depth in this pocket. I mean, I'm not a designer, I'm not an engineer. Maybe there's a great reason why they couldn't have done it, but all the same, I just can't help but wish I had some more space here because I'm always in and out of this pocket in particular. Now keep in mind, there's no real rigidity to this compartment here. Most of the bag is pretty flexible in general. So it is going to also depend on how fully packed this bag is. Like if it's just completely maxed out, you're pushing against everything else that's packed in here. And real quick, there is this tiny little Velcro enclosure here where you can keep a contact card in case you were to lose the bag. I've apparently never used it, probably should, but it's there. On to versatility and accessories. So as Peak Design states on the product page for this bag, no two trips are the same. TM. Yes, they trademarked that, apparently. So if you're just using this purely for travel, you need to put your clothes in it, other odds and ends, it's pretty much good to go as shipped to you. But they do have a number of accessories that could be used in tandem with this to kind of increase the functionality, use it for different purposes. They do have some packing cubes in a couple of different sizes. If I can find mine, I'll try to put some footage in. Not super sure where it is right now. It's a pretty cool system to use if you just really need to maximize the space in here for like a longer trip or something. Now, if you're a photographer or a videographer and you need a substantial amount of gear, you're gonna want a padded divider system. So for that, they have a number of camera cubes. They have a number of sizes. I think it goes extra small, small, medium, which I love that name, medium, and large. The large one basically takes up the entire volume of the bag, making it effectively just a camera bag. There's no room for anything else really. I won't get too far in the weeds with the camera cubes, but they are designed in a way to where they have their own side access panels. So you could open the side access on this to then open the side access on that. So they even put a lot of thought into how the accessories work in tandem with the bag itself, which is a nice touch. Okay, so on to pricing and warranty. All right, there's no way around it. This bag is expensive. It's, at the time of this filming, $300. Whew. Can a bag of a similar size and maybe, at least on paper, similar features be had for much less? Of course. Of course. And for a lot of you, that may be enough of a reason for you to consider something else. Sometimes price is the end all be all. But I'll say this is how I approach investing in a product like this. You're not just buying something utilitarian that it'll hold stuff. A lot of bags will hold stuff, you know? What you're investing that money into is high-end materials, very well thought through features, things that make using this bag day to day, you enjoy interacting with it. Like when you grab this bag, it's something that you can appreciate how everything functions. Like why not get something you like interacting with, you like handling, you like the look of, and that you can appreciate the care that was put into the design. Also, and this is a huge thing to consider when you're talking about spending this amount of money, this has a lifetime guarantee. So it not only covers manufacturer defects, it covers wear and tear that can affect the usability of the bag, like at any point for life, for the life of this bag. So honestly, in theory, you're buying a product that could outlast you. I mean, that's worth the extra $100, maybe $150 to me. This could be the last bag I ever buy that fits this purpose. And I should say I have taken them up on this guarantee once before on this particular bag. So this is actually the second one of its kind. So in my case, after maybe 4 to 5 years of having the bag, the stitching right here had started to come up, started to fray a little bit. The bag still worked fine, but it was getting to the point where, like, you know, it's only gonna get worse with time. So I went ahead and reached out. All they asked for was a picture of the defect, of the problem, sent that over, and there was really no questions beyond that. Furthermore, what was kind of cool was they actually sent out the replacement bag before I needed to even send this one back in. So I didn't have to go without for any amount of time. So a lifetime guarantee is, of course, only as good as the company that's behind it. But in the case of Peak Design, I have no doubt that they're going to be around for a long time. I believe they launched in 2010, and there's a huge amount of fanfare around their products. Their business model, when they bring a product to market, they seem to always stick to the Kickstarter model. So they'll launch it that way. They'll get it pre-funded, basically. And it's almost comical to watch. They just launched their Roller Pro luggage line. I got this email real time when they launched it. I clicked on it immediately. And by the time that loaded, out of their meager $100,000 goal, they were at nearly $1 million. Fast forward to now, and they've like 100x'd their goal. So I feel pretty strongly that they're gonna be around to back this warranty for a very, very long time. So in terms of competition, other products to consider around this price and around this level of quality, there's a few to consider. There's actually quite a few, but a few of them, I feel like Nomadic is always mentioned in the same breath as Peak Design. I feel like, at least in my mind, they're neck and neck and going after the same market. There's a couple others like Osprey and Tortuga and GoRuck, but I don't know. It seems like they all have a pretty different take on their design philosophy. So in some ways, this bag does kind of stand alone, in my opinion. If you'd like to see a full-on product review, just like you saw on this bag here, please let me know. I'd love to get them in. And I'd also at some point like to do a roundup of the best of the best. If you'd like to see something like that, let me know as well. But for now, I think that will about do it for our first review video. Again, thank you so much. If you've made it this far, maybe you'll also care enough to leave a comment down below. While I have been a videographer for most of my adult life, I've worked for YouTube channels, I still want to hear your feedback. I'd love to see comments below, any recommendations you might have. Do you like this format? Would you like to see this or that changed? I'm open to it. I want to give you guys what you want, what you see value in. I'd love to grow together, so I appreciate a comment. Any kind of feedback below would be great. Liking the video, commenting, subscribing, all helps us out a huge amount. And you'll also see a couple affiliate links below that really helps enable us to make more videos just like this one. I truly appreciate if you'd use those links if you're interested in any of these products. It really helps us make more content just like this, which I love doing, and I want to do so much more of it. All right, guys, thanks again. We'll see you on the next one.